I just signed up for Academy Pro, and I'm so excited to get started. Except my name's not Charlotte Amanda. That's okay. We'll look beyond that. So let's see. What am I looking at? I've got 0 questions answered correctly, which means I have no test data, no analytics, nothing there yet. That's all right. We'll get going. I'm going to get that 0 number up to about 1,000 by the time I'm done and ready to take the test. So let's start with an ELA diagnostic exam. So once I open up the exam, well, I'm going to see the video that you're probably watching right now. So I'm going to click the negative and close that sort of expandable element so it doesn't get in the way of my exam. And I see I can read passages, and this will bring up all the passages in a web-based format, and I could read them that way. Or I'll see PDF questions. That brings up a PDF of the exam. And I suppose it's another way I could read and take the exam. I could even print this one out and take it offline if I wanted to. Just make sure to enter your answers online so you can capture them for future analysis. And I have a bubble and answer sheet to help me do that. So I see the quiz. I'm going to start the quiz. Hello, crazy blue guy. Let's begin our quiz. So right away I see actually I have some questions highlighted in blue. That tells me I took or started this exam already, and I'm coming back a second time. So it looks like I answered questions 1 through 4, which is the revising editing part A section, the language or grammar section. And I can see, say, for example, number 1, I answered this question about Colosseum Rome, where the correction in the sentence needs to be made, and looks like I got it correct. I had to insert a comma after Italy. And I can see the answer explanation with a video report of that explanation, and maybe it'll help me figure out why I got the right answer, or, well, I already know this case, but if I got the wrong answer, it will help me work through it. And there's always a link to the related lessons or concepts, so I could actually begin to go look at lessons. If I didn't really understand that topic, I begin to work through the topics that underlie that particular question. Let's continue. So I'm going to skip right to the next section of the exam, which is our revising editing part B. This is the reading-related section on the revising editing. We get a passage. In this case, it looks like it's the local library. And we do have a video summary of the reading here. So I recommend actually waiting until you read the passage before you look at these. They might influence you or help you with your analysis, but we should probably read through it and try to answer the questions before assessing that. So let's try to answer the questions here. By the way, if I didn't already have those passages open from before, I can always click on the question right there, and it will bring up the exact point of the test where you're actually working. So you can go directly to that local library passage and go ahead and read it, and then go back to answer the questions appropriately. So which sentence should replace sentence 4 to best introduce the main claim of the passage? And I would go ahead and work through that and answer. And I can see the answers as I go and answer the questions. So I can work through them bit by bit without worrying about my time constraints. In other words, I can do the questions, answer the questions, and review them while I'm taking the exam. That's the benefit of the no timed portion. Okay, I'm going to jump quickly ahead to number 11, our first passage. Looks like I already did this question. So this was about passage 1, and the June 30th date of the Tunguska event was significant because it suggested that an explosion may have been caused by a comet. Well, perhaps I got it wrong, and I want to see the answer explanation. Again, if I wanted to know something about the actual question type, I might actually click inference speculation here and learn more about these types of questions and how we solve them. Okay? Or I could read the answer explanation, figure out what I did right or what I did wrong in this case. Let's move on to the next question. Same passage. By the way, let's bring up that passage specifically. This is it. I can read it as I wish. What did Galli's analysis of tree resin at the site reveal? Either certain elements were unusually abundant around the time of the blast, particles of outer space can add carbon atoms to trees, I think trees are already made of carbon atoms. Spruce trees were able to survive the Tunguska explosion. That probably doesn't sound significant. Meteorites are composed of gold, copper, and other high-protein elements. Well, okay. I'm going to guess it's C, E. That would be my hunch. But let's go back and see if we can find evidence from the text. So Gali and his colleagues traveled to the site by helicopter to gather core samples from spruce trees that had lived through the blast. They analyzed the particles trapped in the tree's resin. This looks like to be the area of evidence we're looking for. And the results were remarkable. Based on studying the tree rings during the time periods, the researchers found that resin contained high levels of protein elements such as copper, gold, and nickel. In fact, it contained 10 times more such particles than resin dating from before or after that time period. So it had extra elements that would not normally be there, that are perhaps elements that come from a meteorite or a comet at the time of the blast. So what answer reflects that? Certain elements were usually abundant around the time of the blast. That was what our original hunch was. E, I think, is the correct answer. And I'm going to see how I did. Looks like I got it right. Excellent. Perhaps I want to see an explanation. Perhaps I want to go to learn more about this type of question. This is a literal comprehension, a fact detail question. And this will help us learn how to answer these types of questions. And I would continue on with my test eventually until I finish and am ready to submit. Maybe I'm not ready to submit yet. I'm tired. Mom's calling for dinner. I've got to go. I'm going to jump out of the exam and maybe come back later tonight or tomorrow to start to finish it up. How do I do that? Well, I can simply just close down my window, log out. Perhaps I jump to another page back to the dashboard by clicking the logo in the upper left corner. Now, a new day has come. I'm going to go back to my exam, ELA Diagnostic exam, and I'm going to start my quiz again. And notice my answers are there. If I go on to the passage, the question I answered last time, number 12, is highlighted. I already answered it, and now I can move on to 13. And eventually, after potential multiple sittings of working through the questions, figuring out the answers as I go on my diagnostic, I will get to the end and submit. Let's submit the exam. On the very last question, I see the submit button. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. Are you sure you want to submit the quiz? Yes. And it will take a moment to calculate my grade report. Whoa, I did really well. I got 84%, which is right around the Stuyvesant cutoff level. I scored better than 88% of test takers. I see my raw score. I got 9 wrong. I see my scaled score, and it tells me it's good enough to make the cutoff for Stuyvesant High School. I also have all answers and category results available. We'll take a look at that in a second. So then I see all my answers and solutions. So I can go through all the answers, and I can expand on any answer explanation I want to. This is my full grade report. So I will see all the answer explanations, video explanations, etc. for every question in the passage. I should point out that this helps me jump back and forth. I can jump to problem 30, for example, the 30th question, etc. I can look at the incorrect answers section. I can see question stats. How have others answered this question? What do they typically answer? Here I can jump to a PDF of the answers, or I can try my test again. Usually there's some sort of delay. You have to wait 24 hours or such. The All Answers Category Results button. This allows me to see, in a visually friendly manner, all the answers to every question. So I can, by the way, come back to this exam page another day and use this, but I won't have to, as you'll see. We can find it directly from the dashboard. And I can see green is correct, red is wrong, and we can see a great deal of detail we didn't get otherwise. The difficulty of the questions, the category of each question, the actual passage names, what types of questions they are, revising edit A, B, or history passage, literary excerpt, narrative, poem, etc. And, we see more information whether the passage had charts or was fiction or nonfiction. So I can begin to sort the information I want to look for from here. I could drill right down into what was that wrong answer. And I'll see the details I saw in my original grade report. What exactly was the correct answer, what I answered, and the explanations of potential tips for that as well. I could filter this information. Perhaps I only want to see the wrong answers on this exam, and I could quickly go through and then drill down into each of the wrong answers, and I could get a sense of what passages or what types of questions I had some troubles with. I can begin to do my analysis. Remember, this is half the battle. Taking the exam is just the first half. You have to put in probably as much time analyzing your results as you did taking the exam to improve. So don't forget that very important second part. This is a lot of what the platform's designed to help you do. Okay, that's fine and wonderful. So I see my exam report. I know how to navigate it, what information I get from it. I'm ready to go back home. Let's go to the dashboard. Once you're at the dashboard, I can see I've won 48 points. I'm now at a new level. Newbie. Woohoo! He kind of looks like our blue crazy guy on the left. I will see the exam I just took in the table. And again, the report we just saw, I can get to it right here from the dashboard again. I can always go back and look up all the particular questions, what I got wrong and didn't get wrong directly from the dashboard. And I'll see my score. And by the way, I could filter and navigate this table if I want. And I see the category drills. I still haven't taken any category drills, so there's no information there. By the way, I personally look at the exams as benchmarks for your performance. The actual practice should mostly be done in the rapid drills, the actual category drills section. So this is where I would go from this point to begin to start to work on my training. But right away, this exam gave me a lot of useful information in the category and review analysis. So I can see what types of passages. I did very well on my edit revise sections, perfectly as a matter of fact. History seemed to be a little troublesome compared to the others. I did very well on easy. I actually even did better on medium, and not surprisingly, my hard questions was a lower score. I might want to look at that. Actually have some different categories of questions populated here. My paragraph idea, author's viewpoint, command of evidence questions. Not too many because I need at least 3 questions to really sort of begin to make any kind of judgment here. So these are the only questions that appeared at least 3 times within the exam. And I can see the reading passages that were in my exam and how I did on each one of them specifically. I can also look at my edit revise part B. Again, I need at least 3 questions, so I won't see too many categories here, but best accomplishes goal appeared more than 3 times at least. And the one passage that was linked to or related to was the local library, what I took. And on the edit revise A, looks like, well, there are no types of questions that appear at least 3 times yet. There are only about half a dozen or less questions from the exam that were in the revising editing part A. This is the smallest part of the exam. So as I do more work, I'll begin to populate that information. So here is where I can begin to look at all my answers. It's just going to be the same as the one exam in this case right now because I've only taken the one exam. But as I do more drills, more exams, I can always go back here to look at every question, every answer explanation I wanted. Terrific. Now I'm going to go to, not to the full-length exams. There are many more of them, official full-length exams. I'm going to go to my rapid drills. This is where the magic happens for training. This is where I really want to work. We'll leave that for another help session, another video lesson.